Hopefully, I will not get in trouble for making this video because going against Pfizer's interests on the internet is very dangerous for your personal account. We saw it with the Twitter files. Like, there were people from the FBI and academia and journalists that were encouraging Twitter to censor. So I'm walking on dangerous ground here, am I not? Well, apparently this scientist, which I've never heard of him before, but allegedly he's famous in the United States, is complaining that he is getting harassed on Twitter. Right, so he's getting a lot of mean tweets. And usually when that happens on the internet, you probably did something, because most people aren't going to go out of their way in order to tag you. And apparently what this gentleman did, and the media actually does talk about it, surprisingly, is that he was trying to censor Joe Rogan, right? So he posted in support of a Vice article, which was published on Friday, titled, "Spotify has stopped even short of trying to stem Joe Rogan's vaccine misinformation." So basically, when you inject yourself in the public conversation, when you're telling that people shouldn't see something that they like to see, when you're basically saying that people who are grown adults are incapable of listening to a podcast and figuring out what is correct information and misinformation, right? When the same people can decide whether or not they should buy a house, whether or not they should buy a loan, like those decisions are completely something they can do. But when they look at Joe Rogan, they all of a sudden become incapable of deciding for themselves if what they see there is true or not. Yeah, those people may get a little bit upset, you know, and you can't hide yourself behind the science and say, well, I'm a scientist, I don't do debates. Okay, Mr. Scientist, when did the scientific theory say that censorship is scientific? When did they say that, yeah, you need to support censoring anyone that disagrees with you? I mean, I guess like back in the day, when doctors were saying that doctors smoke Camel, if you disagreed with them, you should have gotten censored. Well, actually, that's what they were trying to do at the time. There were many financial interests, but like there is a difference between the science, right, which is the scientific theory, and science as an institution, which is run by human beings that can be corrupt, right? They can be bought. And this is what I guess people like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk wanted to investigate, because this is what I get on Twitter. Like, are you genuinely a scientist, or are you being bought and you're being corrupt? And you're basically now attacking people on the internet that you don't like Joe Rogan, which is is one of the most popular podcasters in the world, right? So you are trying to get the most popular podcaster in the world taken down. Obviously, Vice magazine has financial interest in taking down Joe Rogan, because the less people watch Joe Rogan, they hope that people would watch them. They're competition with Joe Rogan, right? And even then, when Joe Rogan talks about something that Vice magazine promotes, and he talks about it in a negative light or debunks it, Vice magazine's credibility suffers. So yeah, like you're allying with a competitor against a podcaster, and at this point you stop being a scientist and you start getting into the realm of politics. You're trying to decide how people should live their lives, what they can and can't listen to. Because this is the most offensive thing, you know, like if you manage to get Joe Rogan suspended, it's not that Joe Rogan doesn't have other places to go. It's not that, just because he's not on Spotify doesn't mean that he can't go somewhere else. I mean, Joe Rogan can be on shortwave radio and people will still listen. No, but the problem is like you're telling people that you can take their fun away. Because a lot of people watch Joe Rogan for entertainment, right? Like they do not watch Joe Rogan as if he is the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ himself. A lot of people can just listen to Joe Rogan and decide for themselves about what they're hearing. But you come into their life, you barge into their homes on their computer screen, and you're saying that, yay, like a horse that's high on ivermectin, like you do not want people to listen. Okay, so because you decide to inject yourself into the realm of politics, well, now you have individuals that are like, okay, well, go debate. Go debate, right? So he doesn't want to debate. He doesn't. So people have gathered, and they have offered to pay money for this debate to happen. I believe the price is now at over $1 million, right? Like you have Tim Pool, which put like 100,000. You have a billionaire, which put another 100,000. I think Elon Musk put another 100, and they're saying, look, go debate, and this can go to a charity of your choice. You can save lives, right? Like you can donate to an African charity, you can donate to Black Lives Matter, you can donate to whatever you want. Just go and debate for a couple of hours. He doesn't want to do it. He does not want to do it. And he says like, oh, well, science is not about debating. And I vehemently disagree, right? I don't know what med school he went to and how they do things in the US. But here in Romania, when I did med school, many times, especially when you go to a medical congress where you have like various doctors coming in and presenting their papers, there is a Q&A session. And you have people from the audience that do get to ask you questions about what you've wrote, and you have to defend it. Hell, in the beginning, in the morning, when you go to the hospital, there is this time where people talk about what happened the night before. And they talk about what patients are in and what patients came during the night and what afflictions they have. And then is when the doctors offers potential treatment. They give potential diagnostics. And many times you can have a debate on that. Like some doctors can say, well, maybe he doesn't react good to this. Let's try such and such. No. Like actually that's not a good idea. Let's do this. The concept that science is a religion is baffling to me. Like science is always open for questions. And if you're a good scientist, you should be able to defend that. Especially like now in the age of fact checkers and the internet, where you can go there and people can check what you saw, what you said later. And from what I understand, the person that he is supposed to debate is a person that even has a speech impediment. Like, how much more help do you need? It's fascinating. But I guess like this is the reality. You have people that do not want to debate, do not want to be in the public spotlight, but at the same time they want to make policy, right? And we saw this especially during the pandemic. Like there were people that claimed to be scientists, but they were acting more like politicians. So they wanted to create policy, and whenever you push back, it's like, oh, well, science. And I noticed the same with Greta Thunberg, right? Like she was telling people how to live their lives. She was telling people how to behave. And the moment like anyone tried to press her or anything, it's like, hey, do you not want to debate on this? Oh, I'm just a child. And it's like, now it's on the nose. Now people have noticed that this is why they're basically dogpiling this individual. Is due to the fact that they have had enough of this behavior. It's not him necessarily, it's just like that is now a face to the public eye, but it is very annoying when you have people that try to take away your entertainment, when you have people that try to dictate how you live your life, and when they're above criticism. And when they make a mistake, when they say something that ends up not being true, they're not fired, they don't get a deduction in pay, there is no punishment for them, right? So no accountability, right? So you have unaccountable people making policy, they're not democratically elected, and they get to decide what people are and aren't allowed to watch. And your Pikachu face that people are now upset. I see. Okay. From what I've noticed, no one is giving him any sort of harassment, right? Like they're not violating Twitter's terms of service. They're not giving him death threats or anything like that. He's not even claiming himself. So the only thing that's happening is people asking him to debate. And because of that, he's upset that he's getting dogpiled. I'm sorry, but you injected yourself into the public conversation. Like at any point, you can just delete Twitter. Like for example, do you guys know who my university professor is? No, because he shuts up, right? Like he's not a public person. He doesn't try to influence policy. He doesn't try to take away people's entertainment. His job as a professor is to educate people, and then he goes out the hospital and is a doctor. Right? Like you can be that, but you don't want to be that. You want to be powerful. You want to be Tsuyoi. Well, when you're a politician, you have to go into the public spotlight. There needs to be a distinction between being a scientist and being a politician, honestly, right? Like people need to understand the difference between setting policy and just doing the science. And not to mention, like when you do the science, don't you have your papers being peer-reviewed? Do they not do that in America? Like when you have a scientific paper, do you not have fellow scientists that look at it and they try to replicate it and see if it works? Let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.